Hi, I'm Marco Rubio, and welcome to this week's Constituent Mailbox. As we do every week, we reach into our emails and into our mailbox. We pull out a few letters, and we read them on the air, and we answer your questions. So we encourage you to continue to email us and write us, and hopefully we'll be able to respond to you in person right here in our Constituent Mailbox series. So let's begin. Our first letter today, it's an email. It's from Paul in Orlando, who writes about the unemployment compensation extension. And he writes, I'm 62 years old, and the job market here in Orlando is saturated with job seekers, and there are very few jobs. My extended benefits end the beginning of January if there's no extension. We have money for Mars expeditions, a myriad of other things, but what are your citizens going to do to survive where we live, how will we eat, etc.? Please give the extension your support before the legislation expires. Thank you. Paul, this is an issue I dealt with in my campaign, and as I said, I think unemployment insurance is important, and I support it, so long as it's paid for. And there should not be hard to pay for it without raising taxes. We have plenty of government waste. We have plenty of money laying around that we're spending on things we shouldn't be spending it on, and I'll continue to offer opportunities to pay for it. So as I said on the campaign, and I continue to say now, for folks like you that are looking for work and can't find it in this tough economy, there are two important things we can do. Number one is extend unemployment insurance, fully paid for, by finding savings in government. And number two, do everything we can to help our economy grow, because ultimately what you want is not unemployment insurance. What you want is a job. And that's why I've offered bipartisan proposals like the AGREE Act, which I have multiple sponsors, both Democrats and Republicans, who want to see it passed. It takes the best out of the Republican plan, the Democrat plan, the president's plan, and other plans, and tries to enact them in law. And I hope I can get that passed, and I hope I can count on your support. So thank you for writing us. Our second email comes from John in Bonita Springs, and he writes, we heard your interview on Fox News this evening and are very disappointed in your policy on immigration. When you were running for senator, you initially made a statement that you were for giving amnesty to illegals, and then when we, your supporters, let you know our position on immigration, you changed your platform. Now that you are a senator, you seem to be going back to your original stance on allowing illegal immigrants a fast track to citizenship. We in Florida are tired of paying for the entitlements given to illegals. They are taking our jobs and our communities away from us. Your statement tonight on FNC encourages more and more immigrants to come to our country, knowing full well that sometime in the future they will be given some form of legal recognition in the United States of America. Try feeding our hungry, our disadvantaged, and our poor and unemployed who are United States citizens and looking for a better life in their homeland. Well, John, a couple responses to your email. First, I've never supported amnesty. I'm not sure where you got that from in my campaign, and maybe you misunderstood, but I've never supported amnesty at any time. Second of all, I don't support giving citizenship to anyone who's in this country illegally. What I have said is that Republicans, we've been pretty good at what we're against. We're not for amnesty. But what are we for? We need to start talking about what we are for when it comes to immigration. The first thing I think we need to be for is legal immigration. This is a nation of legal immigrants, and legal immigration is good for America. It's an important part of our heritage and an important part of our future. And to that end, in order to arrive at a legal immigration system that works for America, the first thing we need to do is provide for border security and also for employment security, which is why employment center security. That's why I've co-sponsored the E-Verify bill, because I think that's a very important first step. Step number two is to modernize our legal immigration system, to have a legal immigration system that's workable and that it works. Modernize our visa programs, create a tamper-proof guest worker program that doesn't give people access to citizenship. What it gives them access to is a tamper-free card, a tamper-proof card that identifies who they are, why they are here, and identifies when they enter the country and when they leave. That's what I've talked about doing. I have said that there are children in this country who were brought here at a very young age, without any being their fault, have grown up their entire life, and are now high academic achievers or want to serve in the armed forces. And I believe that if we can accomplish security of our border and our workplaces, and if we can modernize our legal immigration system, I think the vast majority of Americans would be willing to figure out a way to help those kids out in their predicament. But I've never supported amnesty nor a pathway to citizenship, and that's never changed. So I hope that that clears that up. But I do think it's important that we have a legal immigration system that works for America, a legal immigration system that honors our heritage, both as a nation of immigrants, but also as a nation of laws. Our last email is from Christopher in Hialeah. He writes regarding the National Defense Authorization Act, and he writes, as a concerned citizen, I have spent the past couple of days researching the National Defense Authorization Act, and more specifically a provision of the bill. My reason for contacting you is to get a better understanding of your viewpoint on this provision. In addition, from what I have read, I can't say I agree with the language in this provision stating indefinite detention without cause or trial of any American citizen inside or outside of the country. Wouldn't this put at risk our rights to freedom of speech and assembly, such as in times of radical protest, as we see now in the Occupy movements? Any clarification you can provide will be highly appreciated. Thank you for your time. Well, Christopher, we've gotten a lot of emails and letters about this, and some of it is based on misunderstanding, and others is about significant concerns, and we take that very seriously. One of the great developments that we've had is the ability of people to reach us directly through email and social media. And so when we started hearing about this, we took a second look at it, because clearly we are not in favor of watering down our civil liberties or undoing our constitutional protections. And here are the facts, and I think it's important for people to understand. First and foremost is that we are involved in a war on terror. It is a war. No matter how much we may not want to accept that in the administration, that's what it is. There are people that, even as I speak to you, are actively planning to attack us here in our homeland and all over the world. It is a war in every sense of the word. In a war, there are things called enemy combatants, basically the enemy. They're fighting against us. Now, here's why you never want to treat enemies like criminals. The reason why you put someone in jail for a crime is because, number one, you don't want them to commit more crimes, but number two, because you want it to serve as a deterrent. In essence, you want other people who are thinking about committing the same crime to decide not to commit that crime because they don't want to wind up in jail like the persons that have committed it before them. That doesn't work when it comes to terrorists or enemy combatants. For example, jihadists and radical Islamic terrorists, they expect to get caught or they expect to get killed. They're not worried about getting caught, and they're not worried about being deterred. They fully expect to be killed or caught in the act of terrorism. So jailing them is not going to deter them. That's why you have to treat them as warlike combatants. And our attitude towards warlike combatants, particularly in a war against terrorism, we have two goals. Goal number one is to take them off the battlefield. In essence, not allow them to go back and fight against us. You know, there are people that used to be in Guantanamo that were released and are now out there fighting against us again, killing American servicemen, building bombs, roadside bombs that are maiming and killing our brave young men and women serving overseas. So the first thing is we never want them to return to the battlefield. And number two is we want to extract information from them. Who are your conspirators? Where are your bases? What other plans do you have? What technologies are you working on? You want to gather intelligence from them in a lawful way, but it's very important because we want to prevent other attacks. That's our goal when it comes to enemy combatants. Now the question is, should we treat them any differently if they happen to have been born or are citizens in or are citizens of the United States of America? And the answer is we cannot draw that distinction because we know for a fact that Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations are deliberately recruiting American citizens because they think it's easier to get them into this country and it'll be easier for American citizens to carry out attacks against us. This is not speculation. This is a fact. So here's the myth. The United States military cannot roam the streets arresting people. They can't detain you and me for protesting. You have to be proven. The government has to prove that you are a member of a terrorist organization actively engaged in enemy combatant activity against the United States of America. And hopefully that'll be a rare instance, but it's happening, and it's important that they be treated that way. Otherwise, we're going to lose the war on terror, and we cannot afford to lose the war on terror. And so that's why I voted for the bill. That's why 93 senators voted for the bill. Think about it. There are 100 people in the United States Senate. They come from different parts of the country with extremely different viewpoints. 93, and all 100 looked at this bill carefully, and 93 out of 100 saw it the exact same way. You know how hard it is to get 93 senators to agree on anything? So I would say that we always need to be concerned about our civil liberties. But rest assured, I never would have supported this bill if I thought that it endangered law-abiding citizens. Or anyone for that matter that wasn't involved in terrorism. The bottom line is if you are a terrorist, you are an enemy of the United States. If you have joined Al-Qaeda or a terrorist organization, you have chosen the side of an enemy in a war, and you should be treated as such, no matter where you were born. But thank you for your email and for your input. Thank all of you for reaching our offices through your emails, through your phone calls, through your letters. It matters. As I just highlighted it in my last answer, your input matters deeply in how we view these issues, and sometimes it causes us to go back and take a closer look. I appreciate all the time that you guys have spent putting your letters and your thoughts together. Keep sending it, because next week, you never know, we may pick your email or letter and read it right here on the air. Thank you all for the privilege, the blessing, the honor of representing you here in the United States Senate. May God bless all of you, and may God bless the United States.